Good morning. I'm Mira, and we begin today with a geopolitical earthquake that is fundamentally altering the map of global migration and the future of the American dream. In a decision that has sent immediate shockwaves through diplomatic circles, the U.S. State Department has officially confirmed an indefinite suspension of all immigrant visa processing for 75 nations, set to take effect this coming Wednesday, January 21, 2026. This sweeping mandate, sanctioned by the Trump administration and executed under Secretary of State Marco Rubio, effectively halts the issuance of permanent residency, or green cards, for countries representing roughly one-third of the world's population. The administration is citing a drastic reassessment of public charge rules, with State Department Principal Deputy Spokesperson Tommy Pigott asserting that the pause is a necessary measure to stop foreign nationals from extracting wealth through American welfare and public benefit programs. According to official cables, the freeze will remain in place until a comprehensive vetting overhaul is completed to ensure all future immigrants are financially self-sufficient. This move revives and expands a long-standing provision of the Immigration and Nationality Act that allows the government to bar entrants deemed likely to rely on public assistance. While previous administrations used this rule sparingly, the current administration has steadily expanded the public charge doctrine since early 2025. The list of 75 countries is unprecedented in its scope, cutting across every major continent and impacting millions of pending applications. High-profile nations now under the freeze include Brazil, Russia, Egypt, Nigeria, Pakistan, Thailand, and Colombia, alongside countries already facing heavy restrictions such as Iran, Afghanistan, Somalia, and Haiti. For those traveling on a temporary basis, the news comes with a critical distinction. This pause is strictly limited to immigrant visas. If you are seeking a tourist, B1, B2, student, F1, or high-skilled work visa, H1B, your processing remains active for the time being. The State Department has also confirmed that travel for major international events, such as the upcoming 2026 World Cup, will not be obstructed. The Public Charge Review is expected to assess a range of highly specific personal details, including an applicant's age, health, family status, finances, and even education level. Officers are being instructed to consider whether an applicant is likely to use benefits like Medicaid, SNAP, food stamps, or even non-cash benefits like free school lunch programs. In a classified telegram sent to chiefs of mission worldwide, Secretary Rubio instructed consular officers to, quote, refuse all new immigrant visa applications from the listed countries starting next week. For families mid-process, this means scheduled interviews will likely be canceled, and files at the National Visa Center will be frozen indefinitely. Critics of the policy, including immigration advocacy groups, argue that this measure acts as a de facto wealth test. They contend it disproportionately affects applicants from the global south and will lead to prolonged, painful family separations as pipelines for legal immigration are essentially severed. The impact on the corporate world is also being felt immediately. Multinational employers who were planning to transfer key staff to U.S. entities on EB-1 or EB-2 immigrant petitions are now being forced to pivot to interim strategies, such as L-1 or O-1 visas, to keep their operations moving. Human resources teams and global mobility managers are now auditing thousands of ongoing green card cases. Many are advising affected employees to explore short-term assignments or hybrid work arrangements outside of the United States until the revised guidance promised by the State Department is actually issued. Geographically, the freeze hits Africa and the Middle East hardest, with countries like Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Morocco, and Lebanon all seeing their immigrant pathways closed. The administration has specifically pointed to unacceptable rates of welfare usage among certain migrant groups as the primary justification for these specific regional targets. In Europe and Eurasia, the list includes Russia, Belarus, Albania, and the Balkan nations. The inclusion of Russia and Belarus highlights the ongoing geopolitical tensions, though the administration insists the focus remains on the financial self-sufficiency of the individual applicants rather than political posturing. The Americas are also deeply impacted, with the freeze extending to Nicaragua, Guatemala, Cuba, and Jamaica. This adds another layer of complexity to the already strained immigration situation at the southern border, as legal pathways for residency are removed while enforcement measures continue to ramp up. Interestingly, India and China remain notably absent from this specific list of 75 countries. While they are still subject to significant backlogs and other immigration hurdles, they have not been included in this blanket public charge pause, reflecting the administration's continued focus on high-skilled tech and defense talent. The legal battle has already begun. Late last night, the states of Minnesota and Illinois filed immediate lawsuits to block the order, arguing that the administration is overstepping its executive authority and causing irreparable harm to their state economies and communities. In Minnesota, the focus has shifted to the Somali American community, where prosecutors recently uncovered a large-scale fraud scandal involving taxpayer-funded programs. The administration has cited this specific case as a primary example of why stricter public charge vetting is required for certain nationalities. Despite the legal challenges, the State Department's social media channels remain defiant. A recent post stated that the freeze will remain active until the U.S. can ensure that new immigrants will not extract wealth from the American people, reiterating that the generosity of the American people will no longer be abused. For thousands of people currently waiting in line, some of whom have spent years and thousands of dollars on the legal process, this news is devastating. Many have already sold their homes and resigned from their jobs in anticipation of a move that has now been halted just days before the deadline. As we look toward the 2026 World Cup and the 2028 Olympics, the U.S. faces a strange paradox. It is preparing to welcome the world for sport while closing its doors to those who wish to call it home. The tension between being a global host and a restricted fortress has never been more apparent. We will continue to monitor this situation as it develops and as the January 21st deadline approaches. For now, the message from Washington is clear. The era of open immigrant visa processing for these 75 nations is over, and the era of the wealth test has begun.